Hi ladies, welcome back to Becoming with Naomi. If this is your first time, thank you so much for joining me. And if you are a regular viewer, thank you so much for returning and sticking with me. Now, for those who have never watched any of my episodes before, Becoming with Naomi is a channel talking about my becoming journey on becoming the woman that God has called me to be. And the intention is to potentially help you with your becoming journey, and what I go through may help you to elevate, help you to articulate what you're feeling in this journey. So yeah, take a tour on the other episodes and stick with me on this journey if it's something that resonates with you. Now, in today's episode, I want to talk about laying the old me to rest. I had a very interesting, what's the word to use? Experience with laying the old me to rest. It was a very significant moment for me, something that I felt there was like an actual shift, and I feel like it broke something in order for me to kind of step forward. So I'm going to explain that to you today, and it might again help you. So in order for me to talk about this, I want to first of all mention that I am a dreamer. I dream prophetically. My dreams usually give me insight to how I'm feeling, and it will also tell me the things to come as well. So I dream, all of us dream every single night, but I pretty much remember all of my dreams, and I have to write them down, take a note of them, date them, because it's that serious. So there was this particular dream that I had, and it was either after or during, I did a 40-day fast. So I might talk about that on another occasion, but I did a 40-day fast. And during this fast, I dreamt that I was at a graveyard. I saw this coffin, and it was me that was in the coffin, but I was very much still here, present. I knew it was me that was in there, but I was like, oh, but I'm here, so what's going on? It wasn't like my spirit or anything like that. There was nobody else there. It was just me, and there was a graveyard, and I saw my coffin, and it was about to go down into the grave. And I didn't stay for it to go down in the grave because I was like, there's no need. But what I recognized is that I was very much at peace. I felt joyful. I felt content. And I then began to I started to fly across the field. And it started to rain, but I wasn't upset about it raining. In real life, I would have been screwing because I was thinking about my hair. But in this dream, I wasn't sad. I was happy. I was joyful. And in that moment, I knew that this was a blessing from God. I could just feel it. I felt the joy, and I was soaring across like an eagle, as the scripture says, soaring across the fields. And I was just content, and I felt peaceful. There was more to the dream, but that's the only part that I want to share. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I knew straight away that God was doing something. I knew that this dream was telling me that breakthrough was happening. I knew that the dream was telling me that, the past me was gone. And I left it there, didn't think about it. I just took note of it, and I thanked God for it, prayed into it, and I carried on. And I want to say that this was, where are we now? We're in July. I think it was in May, June that I had this dream. So not too far away. Now, let's just fast forward a little bit, or let me talk about something still on topic, but just so you understand where I'm going with the laying myself to rest and how it all came about. I talked in my previous series about the journey of the rejection wound. And in that process, one of the things that I was doing a lot of work with my pastor. And she has been an amazing support in helping me identify how to walk into wholeness, identifying this wound that I had. So when I talked about overcoming that in my last video, she has played a big part in that. And what we've been doing is she's been going through some daily journals with me. So she'll send me a daily journal. There's a series of questions to go through, and it's an opportunity for me just to pause, think about it, And then when I send her my response, she will then give me her insight. And I have to say that that process has been absolutely amazing. It's been eye-opening. The feedback and the insight that she gives me, because she has so much wisdom and so much discernment. Oh my gosh, the insight that she gives back, it's like it's breaking things off me just from reading it alone. It's been so powerful. And what she did is, in this journal series, is she highlighted that it was okay to lay the old me to rest. And when I read that, I broke down into tears. And it wasn't because I was sad. Actually, there was a mixture of emotions. I realized that I then recognized that there was a split between this version of me and the old me. And I began to mourn the old me. For the first time, it was, this is Naomi, this is this version of Naomi, and that's the old Naomi. And I thought about how much work had been put into me getting to this point, how I could not sit here today if the old me hadn't grafted, hadn't gone through what she'd gone through to get to this point today. And I then remembered the dream, and then that just took me to the next level. So I got even more emotional, and I realized that in that moment I had to physically say, Naomi, I put you to rest. And I was thanking her for all that she had done in that moment. I thanked her for the obstacles and the mountains that she had to face. I even kind of felt sorry for the things that she had gone through, which I'll kind of talk about in a moment. I'll go into a bit of detail. But the things that version of me had to go through so that this version of me could sit here today, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, she has gone through so much. And then I realized that I was referring to myself as a third person. And then it highlighted to me that this healing journey has allowed me to separate myself from the old version of me and really walk into what I talked about in my last episode, walking into wholeness. So in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't resonate with that version of me anymore. And I understood that Naomi has fought so hard to get to this point. Like, this Naomi always wanted to be here. And she really, really, I can't, I'm trying to express, like, she worked hard to get to this point. Do you know what I'm saying? So to realize that she did it, and I literally was like, oh my gosh, she can sleep now. She can be put to rest. She doesn't have to fight anymore. She doesn't have to question her worth anymore. She doesn't have to think, is she good enough? Like, all these things that she's been fighting, she can stop. It was literally like, she's gone. That version of her she no longer has to worry. She is at rest. She's at peace. And she did that so that I could be here today. And I was just emotional, because I really did see it as, I just visioned it as an individual who is no longer here anymore. And although, yes, she deserves to be put to rest, it was quite a sad moment, because it was like, wow, look at all the things that she's gone through. But she did that for me so that I could be here today. So I hope I'm articulating that right, to understand like what that was like for me. But then it gave me the permission to then stand into what I know that God's calling me to stand into, to feel, it's like my pastor gave me permission to put the old me to rest so that I could then step forward and be. And that's when I realized that, hold up a second, I keep thinking like I'm in this space, when really I've taken quite a few steps forward. I just needed that permission to say, you're done now. You can put her to rest. You don't have to, there is nothing there. You don't have to go back to that mindset. You don't have to go back to those habits. That version of you does not That version of me does not serve me anymore. And one of the key things for me in that moment is I couldn't rush that moment. It really was it not as intense, but it did feel like I just found out that somebody had died and I had to grieve them in that moment. And there was a mixture of emotions. And obviously, usually when someone passes away, there is a sadness. But for me in this moment, because of it's not a physical death, there was sadness, but there was joy. But I recognized in that moment that I had to sit in it. I couldn't just get up and move because I was actually trying to get ready for work. And I was like, I actually need to sit in this space right now because it needs the attention that it deserves. I need to give myself the time to grieve and kind of honor the old version of me. And I just thought about what I'd gone through from such a young age up until this point. And I thought about the physical trauma that I'd gone through. So trigger warning, for those that don't know, I'd faced sexual trauma as a child, and that really shaped a lot of things for me growing up, which kind of fed into the rejection wound, which also fed into the self-worth. So there was multiple things that came from this rejection wound, and the worth wound. Just multiple things. Like, if you can imagine, from a child to experience that level of trauma, that's going to shape your world in ways that it shouldn't. So when I just paused for a second and really thought about everything that I'd gone through as a child, and then the breakdown of my parents' marriage and how that impacted me, then growing up and then going into friendships and having very negative friendships as a young teenager, and even experiencing bullying as a child and all these different things that were coming up. And I was just like, wow, she has experienced so much. She's had to overcome so much. And she walked around and carried burdens that she did not deserve to carry. And I've just felt this sadness for her. But then I was also really proud of her because of all the things that she has achieved despite of. And in that moment, I realized that I've spent so much time, like during this time, I spent so much time looking at what I was doing wrong that I didn't recognize how well I was actually doing. And I was so hard on myself because I was like, I could be doing so much better. But I did the best that I absolutely could. And I don't think I could have done any better than what I've done before. And I was just proud of myself. I was like, so many people would have probably quit under that level of pressure. So many people could have, in some cases, decided not to be on this earth anymore. It could have just gone in so many different directions. And I just thought, Naomi, that version of you was extremely strong, and she carried things that she shouldn't have carried and got you to this point. And that woman, although you didn't want to be her anymore, you have to recognize and give her credit where credit is due. Because without her, that version of her, I wouldn't have got to this point. And I think sometimes we can be on any form of journey and we do not take the time to recognize how hard we've worked. We don't take the time to recognize that you've actually done a really good job, that you did the best that you can. We spend so much time reflecting on what we could have done better. But the fact is that every single day that you wake up, you're a step further to where you need to be. And as difficult as it can be, you're still moving forward. And guess what? In those days, in some of those days for me, there were some days when I couldn't get up. Like I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. We will always have those days. But the fact is that although I may have stopped for a period of time, I got back up and I kept moving forward. And I just realized I was just so hard on myself in that version. oh gosh, just like, oh, I could have done better. I should be doing more. I should be doing this. It's all these things that I thought I should have been. But in that moment, when I realized that that version of me was no longer here, I was like, look at everything that she's done. Look how hard she worked. Look at, even though she felt broken, she still pressed forward. And there's nowhere that I can sit here and be like, yes, I've arrived, darling, and dismiss that version of me, because there is no me without her. So that was an overwhelming moment for me. And what I appreciate about that moment is it then allowed me to acknowledge where I am now, because I was like, okay, that side of me, that individual is no longer here. So where am I now? And that's the question. Now that I've laid the old me to rest, where am I now in this becoming journey? And this is the exciting part for me. And I'm not saying that obstacles won't come, because I really, child, I don't know where God's going to take me on this becoming journey. Like, it looks different in different, like, this is a different season, a different episode of my becoming journey, right? I don't know what this looks like, but it feels more light. It feels more joyful. So I'm now learning who this new version of the woman is. So I feel like now I am a lot closer to becoming the woman that God has called me to be. So it's no longer about me trying to separate from the old self. And figuring out, how can I put it? I don't feel, because I always said that I feel like I'm in the middle ground. I don't feel like I'm in the middle ground. I feel like I'm a lot closer to that version that I know that God has called me to be. But I don't know what I would call that. I just say that I'm closer, right? And this season now is recognizing, okay, I've got to use analogy, because I'm trying to help you all to understand what my mind is. I want to use an analogy so you can understand where I'm coming from. But it's like jumping into a new car, and you've always driven, you know how to drive a car, but now you're in a brand new car, and you're like, okay, this is new. This is no longer manual. This is an automatic. I've never driven an automatic before, and this car seems to be a little bit more expensive. It's, everything is new. I've got something new to learn. And yeah, I know how to drive, but this is still a new car. It's a new experience. And I've got to give myself time to really understand what this new car is saying, because I don't want to drive too fast now on the first go, because I don't want to ruin all the progress that I've made to get to this point. That's what it feels like. I feel like I've just jumped into a new car, and I'm just slowly adjusting to this new life. So all I know is that in this moment that there is a newfound confidence, which is weird for me, because confidence has never been an issue, but this confidence feels more genuine, more grounded. And there is this boldness. Again, I've always felt like I've been quite bold in certain areas of my life, but this feels different. And there is this joy, and there's this peace. And you can't tell me that this peace, this joy, this boldness comes from the world. This is coming from my relationship with God. This is coming from me allowing God to take me on this becoming journey, allowing him to prune me, allowing him to remove what no longer serves me, allowing him to literally just to surrender to him. That's what this is. And as difficult as it can be, it's extremely rewarding. And this space that I'm in, I've even thought to myself, okay, so how far does this YouTube channel go now? Because some points I feel like I've arrived, but then God reminded me, like, no, you haven't arrived just yet, Naomi. But that's how liberating I feel in this season of this journey, that it feels like I've arrived because it feels so new to me that I'm like, this has got to be like the stop. Like, surely God, I've arrived because this is new. What is this? And God's like, no. You are closer, but you're not just there yet. And I was like, oh, okay, God, I hear it. So in my head, I'm like, okay, if this is what arrival feels like to me, and God's telling me that I've still got some steps to go, then boy, my becoming must be chef's kiss. But yes, in this season, I'm going to enjoy whatever this is, because the previous episodes of this journey has been quite tearful. It's been heavy. It's been, no, I don't want to say traumatizing because that's not the right word to use, but it's just been a lot. In this season now, I feel like it's lighter, but when I think about it, there is some things that still needs to be done. I haven't quite arrived yet. So this is a shorter episode today. I hope this encouraged you. I hope this you can take something from it. If not, you've just got an insight into where I am in my journey. And yes, I'm just in a really good space right now. Although I haven't arrived, I'm in a good space, and I think it just shows what the true meaning of a journey is, that sometimes it can go up, sometimes it can go down. And although some parts are harder than others, it still all makes up for the end result. It still plays a part in the journey, and coming out of that, the darker days, the tearful days, I'm so grateful that I was able to go through that, because it's got me to this place. Yeah. So I tell you, every time I come here to record, I'm like, so what now? Because even now I'm thinking of, well, what else can I talk about? But, I'm just doing what God's told me to do. So we'll see what comes up in the next episode. So yeah, I'm going to wrap that up. I'm going to leave that here. So if you're still listening to this episode, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I will see you again next Friday. Bye, ladies.